Xioalaohu as well in that top lane, but I'm surprised that this has been such a consistent pick for teams which are not necessarily leveraging it to the potential you need to, as we now get ourselves that Kai'Sa Lucian lock-in, and of course with the Ezreal Corki, we have 4 very mobile reposition AD carries locked in.
Very powerful rotation there from FPX, and LGD now have to respond, and maybe top lane counter pick could be the answer. But you could also go for your jungler potentially as well. That would be an option. But no, Burdol goes back to that Jace once again. Range top laner against the Renekton.
I almost had a heart attack because I thought the Aurelia had been locked in. I was like, wow, I haven't seen this champion played in yonks. But going to be that Burdol Jace coming through. Burdol, the last game, he did get a lot of damage out, but he was also hard focused by the enemy team. I think part of that was on Burdol and his positioning, and a lot of it was just Jace as a champion, and one thing that we've seen from... No, even 369's been having better and worse games on that champion, and you know, if top esports are having moments where their top lane is getting exposed, then you know it's not necessarily just a player thing, because sometimes be a champion thing too. FPX, if they lock in themselves some heavy engage, they should be able to get onto Burdol. Again, they don't have that engage from the top side of the Ornn, which is going to be a little bit lacking. They'll probably look towards something like a Nautilus themselves. They do need some big engage yet to be locked in.
Lilia still up and available as well, as LGD are on track to just get the exact same composition, pretty much, right?
I think they need to. I think FPX needs to take away the Lilia. I think FPX should take away the Lilia at this point. I think that LGD, they're playing from longer range. You want to take away that Lilia, and you need to get yourself an engaged support as well. They would have loved themselves the Nautilus, of course, that's taken away by JinJiao. They'll need to get themselves an engaged support. You could potentially go for the Rakan if you want a safer champion in that support role. The problem with Alistair is that it's very easy to catch him out. Also, he's not great versus poke because you don't want to use your ult on poke. You want to use your ult on big burst damage. Yes, there is that on LGD, but what happens if you're half HP before you use that? That can be a big problem.
Oh, Kindred being hovered here from FPX. That's a lot of AD within your composition, with only the Kai'Sa really bringing any magic damage to the table, but it's locked in. MilkyWay wants a big carry. It's a signature for him. Let's see if he can step up here against LGD. On the other side, that Lilia still up and available. It could just be an exact same repeat of the previous composition with that Lilia, but Brand also a potent power pick, something Meteor's very happy to lock in himself.
Yeah, FPX have a lower range composition this time in terms of their engage, so Meteor could have gone towards that Brand, and he goes towards the Nidalee instead. So 2 junglers which want to get into the enemy jungle. So Nidalee doesn't have the most setup in this game. You have the Nautilus, and that's kind of it in terms of the CC available from his teammates. Both these junglers want to be stealing camps. You've got Kindred for the purpose of your marks, Nidalee for the sake of being Nidalee and taking stuff away from the enemy jungler. FPX, I feel like they have a much easier to execute composition this time. They have much better repositioning. They have 3 repositioning at AD carries with the Kindred jumping around the place too. LGD, they have themselves a lot of poke. They have so many skill shots. So even if a Nidalee Sphere lands, maybe the Shock Blast lands, maybe an Ezreal Q lands, they'll be looking to buy enough time for the extra cooldowns to come through and for them to continue playing a high-range composition. On the other side, it feels like you're playing towards the big engage once again. I feel like compared to that first game, though, it is harder to land that engage.
It certainly will be harder. LGD, though, again, pure damage in this roster. Similar to the previous game, not quite the same in terms of composition, but that Nidalee, if you can land the spears, will certainly be able to chunk you plant later on. Let's see how this one's going to go for FPX. They need to prove themselves. They need to show that they belong here in Group Ascent. The Kindred comes through for MilkyWay. He has been the hero, the carry for this organization all year long, and they've given him a big carry once more. Questions of compositional damage types coming through here, with only the Kai'Sa for AP, but we'll see if it's going to be enough. LGD, though, they got their first game win of the group stage in game number 1. Let's see if they can repeat it for game 2. Now looks for life on the top side. Nothing going to happen on this level 1, though, I don't think. And I think it's worth bringing up the topic of LGD's first group stage win here, because They're 0-3 right now. Before this series, they were 0-6 in games, and that sounds terrible. But it is worth remembering that the matchups they've had so far are AL, JDG, and BLG. Those are big-ticket teams. Those are contenders for the top spot in the league. So LGD, they've had a really tough schedule to start the league off. And a strong win here today maybe would recalibrate people's view of this team.
To an extent, you can't avoid hard strength of scheduling the Ascension group because that's exactly what it's designed to give. It's meant to be top teams versus top teams. However, there are different stratas within there as well. And I think the fact that LGD played against a lot of teams which we had very high expectations coming out of groups for maybe has dampened our expectations below what they are currently at. The fact that FPX were taken down in that first game and were really pushed in both early game and in team fighting maybe gives us some extra room to see LGD show some upper level potential. We'll see whether they can close out this series. You know what? I'm just happy that if we get similar games to that first one where both these teams are really just trying to outplay each other in the team fights, I don't even care if it goes to 3 at that point. Sometimes it's just nice to see that good League of Legends on display. It's always nice to see that. FPX on the other side, they lose here. Maybe that means we have to recalibrate them as well because they've been down towards the bottom of the Ascension group so far. They kind of got gifted that win versus NIP as well, where you know, Care had a quadra kill to save that game. It is going to be a very difficult game for FPX if they do end up losing this one. It is going to very much, again, change our expectations of them.
It was an interesting series, wasn't it? That FPX versus NIP series where realistically it was almost 2-0. Did not end up going that way in the end. Ended up going the full distance. It was a messy series for both teams, to be quite honest. Then FPX, I feel like this first game was pretty messy still. I feel like it was a fairly messy game from both teams, which I'm personally really okay with. I feel like there's a sentiment in the community these days that messy is not okay. The reason I love the LPL is because it's messy. Like, that's why I enjoy watching in League of Legends most of the time. So I've been reveling in Group Nirvana, but I like it when our top teams get messy as well, because then you get that perfect combination of really high-level mechanical play and shenanigans. It's the perfect mix for me. It's Meteor sent back in. MilkyWay has a Scuttle Crab. ZDZ going for a fight here. I don't think he realized MilkyWay doesn't want to fight this. He wants the crab.
MilkyWay does get himself that mark, but this is something that we saw in the first game too. Burdol had a very poor KDA coming out of game 1. I don't necessarily think all of that was his fault. One thing which he did very, very well though was keep ZDZ out of river for these topside skirmishes. Even though MilkyWay had himself, what, 2 teammates heading up towards that river, even with just the 1 teammate coming in, the support of Meteor, it gets more value because Burdol takes a really heavy trade at the right point. So that's going to be a flash out of ZDZ and potential for Meteor to return to that lane as well with a good accuracy equals to the setup in top lane, but he didn't need it to force that flash the first time. These junglers in their early pathing, it is the core of what should happen in this early game. Of course, it does tend to be, particularly with Kindred and Nidalee, though. It's all about getting value in the enemy jungle. It's going to be warded out there, Meteor here. He will be spotted taking the cross.
I think he'll be able to, at very least, finish that first big Krug, and hopefully for him, should be able to finish off more of the camp as well. Hops back over that wall, gets 1 bonus mini Krug before trying to reset. MilkyWay will spot him, and I think that's the moment for Meteor to realize he's got to back away from this one, get out of dodge. Care consistently trading with Haichao in the mid lane here, but the wave in a really, really good spot for Haichao to just match the recall. However, Care doesn't have his TP available.
And Care, worth mentioning as well, I think
there actually. Care just crashes this wave now. That's a huge wave loss for Haichao.
And I think this is something to mention because Care has had poor games in summer. He has been one of the reasons why FPX have struggled to team fight at some points, because Care has struggled to put out good damage. He has found comfort on the Lucian. This is a pick which I really like seeing him on. I think that he's found good value on this. The fact that he's getting some control of this early lane, which you expect with the Lucian, especially against that Corki, is a good sign for FPX. If he can get himself onto the board in a significant way with that Lucian, that'll be something for FPX to leverage on in a way that you can't do with other mid lane picks for Care currently.
Really nice start there from Care. Haichao's hit level 6 first off of that wave. Care just hits it now as Life gets a free entry onto the enemy mid laner, but it's a good chunk of his own. Ironically, Life. This JinJiao goes wide of the hook, so nothing going to come of that one. Grubs have just spawned on the map. That's why both supports are up in this top side.
And also, both these AD carries happy to farm in the 1v1. You don't have the level 6 yet from the Kai'Sa, which is when you can get some significant kill threat onto the Ezreal. Kai'Sa always was kind of introduced as a bit of an Ezreal counter in regards to that. We do have ourselves a lot of people entering River in this top side.
Oh, ZZ. He's going to be okay. I wasn't sure if Burdol would just look for the knockback towards the rest of the team. Great hook from JinJiao. And that's that spear setup you were talking about. First blood there for LGD. And potentially Grubs as well.
Yeah, that was masterfully stepped by Burdol. Just managed to get himself the right spacing to make sure that ZDZ couldn't get a big turnaround play with his empowered W. Just managed to stick out of auto range, and then, of course, the rest of the teammates come in from LGD. ZDZ has been given this Renekton as a first pick. He does not have the Renekton pass so far in this early game. He is behind in gold. He has not been given... he's not been getting opportunities to really influence this game, and now being 0-1 and significantly far behind for the timestamp in the game, this is a worry. This Renekton is not easy to play when it's behind, especially against a very high range composition from LGD. You need very good angles to get into the backline later into things, so I'm getting a bit worried for ZDZ already.
It could become pretty challenging, couldn't it, on that top side? As Burdol got to choose his matchup for this chase, right? Remember, Burdol picked his top laner second. Whether or not it's a Renekton counter, I don't feel qualified to comment, but certainly you'd expect with the range in the laning phase, you can find your advantages, and later on in the game, that poke is going to be devastating. Once again, all 4 carries on the side of LGD have plenty of poke to bring to the table. FPX trying to set something up on the bottom side. They won't find themselves a dive. Instead, looking towards this Drake potentially as Meteor continues to clear his jungle. The ward comes through from MilkyWay, but doesn't quite get there in time for the blue buff.
You know, earlier in the day, first series, briefly mentioned that one of those games was one of the lower amount of 80 carries we've seen in quite a while. There was only 3 80 carries in one game because there was a Ziggs picked in place of the other one. We have 5 in this game. And Jace is not far off being an 80 carry in his own right when he's got the Hypercharger running. So you've got 5 and a little bit of an 80 carry in this game as well. Again, this feels like right now, 80 carries are just being played absolutely everywhere. Even you can just see how much value these Tabbies going to get. These Ninja Tabby over at the Steel Caps are going to get ridiculous value on both sides with the amount of auto attacks.
Yeah, we've already got 4 on the scoreboard. We'll be keeping Steel Caps count across the course of this cast. I will say, the game pace dramatically changing, and I think it's always really noticeable in series like this when the first game was so action-packed. It's like a drop in adrenaline from the previous game when it was just so explosive, so much action, far more than a kill a minute across the course of that one. So many team fights. But it did kick off more once these neutral objectives start to get into play. ZDZ does get caught by the spear. A chance for Meteor to jump in, but MilkyWay is there and Lamb's Respite is up. And that's enough to dissuade LGD, but honestly, just the health trade is enough.
That was a really close spear there from Meteor too. That spear lands and maybe you've got yourself crocodile skin boots. That's a flash in the bot lane.
Kepler, he's got arcane shift, but even that won't save you now. Deokdam will grab himself FPX's first kill of the game.
Kepler subbing in for Shaoye and immediately getting shown at the back. Just the exit door there at that point in that bot lane. Doesn't blow the flash, doesn't blow the barrier, knows he's dead to right. Really good engage and a good pick off from Life. Maybe he thought he was in a 1v1 between the 80 carries again with the support roaming. That is not the case. So something on the board for FPX. Kill going over to Life. He now gets himself a shift for the extra wave clear. Is going to be very, very powerful now for him to push in roam, much in the way that he was trying to do with the Ashe in that last game with the Shiv Ashe build as well. LGD need to make sure that Deokdam doesn't get assassination threats. This is a very squishy team from LGD, and as opposed to the Ashe in the last game, this Kai'Sa has the ability to dive into those 80 carries, and if you're out of position, this Kai'Sa will very much pick you off with single target Qs. That can be a big difference between the first game and this one.
Kepler off to a tough start in a matchup, like I say, that could get tougher for him as well. And I want to mention Kepler's history, because some some newer viewers may not know the name Kepler, may not know that this guy has played in LPL a few times over the years. And unfortunately, one of those times was back in 2021 summer. He was on B5, which was the worst LPL team in history, managing to go on a 0-16 split for themselves and was consequently subbed out of the LPL. Then rejoined in 2022 summer, was on TT, but again, very lackluster roster. He's been a player that often has been criticized for missed positions in team fights, in map maneuvers as well. He wants to try and prove himself as he stepped into this roster over Shaoye, a very new player. Perhaps that legacy can step up as Life goes in for a fight here. Kepler's just getting so much poke damage down. Lamp Respite used just to keep the support alive. MilkyWay chunk as well. And look at this max range ZDZ. Finds the engage though, and Kepler has to blink away, but Deokdam finds him on the back line. 1-for-1 as now Deokdam will be taken down, and LGD, they keep their distance.
It is a trade of dives as half of LGD are looking to keep distance, and Burdol manages to get into the backline himself to take down an extra kill. So what's that, a 2-for-1 overall in a messy fight? This should be a bit of a microcosm of how these fights happen later into the game. You're going to have someone flashing forward from FPX, whether that's CDC or whether that's Life, to try and get themselves a big engage. Then that unlocks Deokdam, and then they try and get themselves split fights. Whereas on the other side from LGD, they try and absorb that initial engage, keep their distance, and then they try and find themselves those range advantages, which we saw being so impactful in that first game. ZDZ goes into Kepler, but he does have that barrier, and that saves him enough. The flash, not awesome, and it just brings him into a range where Deokdam can get a single target keep. But Deokdam flashes as well, so both AD carries not having the best use of the summoners there. Would have quite liked them for the next Dragon coming up, the Herald coming up. You're not going to have them now.
No, you certainly are not. Meteor wants to grab a crab, but that is not going to happen. He's on that fateful Crabber champion as well, I think. I remember right, that was in Italy. Doesn't go for it though, does not commit.
So I have very fond memories of that game. So that was MSI 2021, and it was the first game of C9 and Detonation Focus Me. So that was the first time that an LGL team had faced a #1 seed from another region, and Blabber went and did that, and flashed from one side of a new deer to the other side of a new deer, and was in melee range the entire time, and died for it. And it was, lives to this day in infamy. Shellfish allergies aside, that one's a little bit different in how a crab can kill you.
Yeah, I'm not sure it's anything to do with an allergy on that one. I feel like it was more of I don't know, lapse in judgment, let's say. But poor Blabber still gets mentioned. It's
oh, it goes a great juggler, but he's always going to remember for that one. That's the case of it. There's not many times when a player is known for like a negative connotation to a move being named after. Because, you know, you've got like the insect, great, the flash kick, you've got the Captain Jack, the instant cleanse, you have the Blabber dying for a crab.
Yeah. Me and back when Orcs was casting on, hang on, I'm going to have to hold this thought as Life finds himself a double knockup to engage, and MilkyWay's done damage onto JinJiao. Great spear from Meteor, chunks out MilkyWay, but it won't be enough to save the LGD support. He drops as Kepler will at least find tower. Deokdam with the all-in. No flash for Kepler, remember? Kepler. And he's found in a 1v1 against Deokdam.
Kepler uses his E after the W is landed, so he just gets assassinated, and now suddenly Deokdam 3-1 after LGD also overextended that bot jungle. Gives a lot over to FPX. It was just 2 straight kills, very, very clean in terms of the execution. And though LGD have 6 grubs, they can play around side lanes. If you are dying, it doesn't help you defend your own turrets in the same way. So FPX given a lot of freebies there, even though they're behind quite significantly for this timestamp in the game. FPX trading back well, maybe looking for an engage.
Oh, JinJiao just walked straight into them there. He's going to drop again 2 times in a row there. And I feel like the bottom lane for LGD is falling apart a little bit. The rest of the map looking good, but this bot lane needs to sort their stuff out. ZDZ trying to move in and threaten for more, and it will secure the tier 1 in the mid lane for FPX. It wants a little bit more, but does need to be cautious not to overstep for this one.
A good spear from Meteor opens up a potential kill option onto Care, but it's not to be. You know, we were talking about LGD. They've had some struggles in the early games. I think their early games have been much better, but this is still quite worrying here, the fact that they had that good early game now, and then they randomly throw a load of kills over to FPX. That's not really what you want to see from a team which does have that Nidalee, that does have you know, that's somewhat of a timer in that jungle matchup, where you know, Nidalee very, very good in that early game. Still rolling over that quite well right now, still in 15 minutes, and Nidalee very, very much right. And I think that Meteor's skill shot accuracy on their spears has also been quite impactful. They get themselves that Herald, they have themselves 6 grubs, and they'd already taken both that top and mid lane inner turrets. With the 6 grubs and the Herald, they should still be able to blow up this game even more, and FPX need to be very wary of where the next big macro power play is going to come through from LGD.
Worth quickly noting as well, MilkyWay, only 2 stacks so far on that Kindred, still a long way away from getting the 4 stacks that we all know and want to see. LGD, despite those few kills going over, it's still 3,000 gold up right now, and TPing Haichao down to this bottom side to try and threaten more, try and guarantee that tier 1. All things considered, even with Kepler and JinJiao having a couple of awkward deaths, it's still very positive right now for LGD across the board.
It is, and they need to be careful still. They have the 6 grubs, they have themselves a lot of squishy members though, and we've already seen Deokdam assassinate Kepler the once. This lead is good. If they get themselves another dragon, which was taken quite late in this game, it's going to be spawning in the next 2 minutes, which means it was taken quite a long time after it spawned. If they get themselves to a Soul Wind Con, if they can get themselves these good macro player players who will force FPX between choosing a dragon or defending their towers, that can be powerful for them. But if they halfway house it, Deokdam hits a W, someone is dying. I don't care if this Chase has an Eclipse. Yes, Burdol's very strong right now. I would still take Kai'Sa in the 1v1 most of the time throughout most of this game, particularly once that second item is hit. He has himself that Q upgrade, he has himself the Shiv. He's very, very powerful as Deokdam, and LGD needs to be aware that Deokdam is the person who can ruin your game for you.
He really is, and he's on maybe the pick of the month, honestly. This Kai'Sa has been in every single game in the LPL. ZDZ wants a fight with Burdol here, starts the trade off pretty rough and losing
Deokdam's
over half
coming.
his HP. ZDZ finally gets the stun as Burdol just walks away. And that ZDZ essentially just bodied the trade.
I mean, yeah, go for that trade while your Kai'Sa is in ult distance. If that happens, then he dies. 100%. What did we just say? The Kai'Sa is very, very powerful. Now gets himself towards that second item, but you know, even with the second rank of that ultimate, you're not flagged from mid lane straight up towards top lane. Yes, your third rank is very, very long distance, but your second one is still got a little bit of a distance to walk with your own 2 feet. ZDZ can very much set up for that Kai'Sa, but that is not the situation you want to be in, and that's a good damage check from Burdol to say, yes, he is very much going to be a problem in that 1v1. Already 1.3k up, and see whether he can continue that as the Herald is dropped down towards bot side, away from those top teams.
6 grubs as well, so this should be some good damage, and the might will tank. That's going to be a tower, tier 2, in favour of LGD. And nothing else really gained elsewhere from FPX. Trying to move up to this top side, trying to get something onto Burdol, but he respects it, he backs away, and this will also be a second Drake for LGD. They've got 6 grubs, they're looking at 2 Drakes, they've got more towers than FPX. I mean, we said this is a composition that you kind of need to be ahead, you kind of need to be in control of the game for this sort of poke composition, pure damage composition to work. But they're very much ahead, and they're very much in control.
Absolutely, and the fact that they managed to keep Deokdam tracked as well, so they don't have to be scrambling to defend one side of the map. When we were seeing that cross map, you can see Deokdam kind of hovering in mid lane, clearing that out, walking towards top side to see if he can combo off of a Renekton stun. It's not happening because of that ward right there, and the ward that was just in the top side river brush as well. They're spotting out Deokdam as he wants to move across the map. If Deokdam is not present at the plays, I'm pretty sure that LG win everything? Question mark. I feel like right now, Deokdam, this guy on your stream, the spectators have hovering them for a reason. If they get themselves onto an isolated target, things are still winnable for FPX, but as it stands, LGD, great gold lead, getting themselves some good item breakpoints too. 2 of their 3 Muramanas transformed already. They are almost ready to fire all poke cylinders.
I didn't even know there were such things as poke cylinders.
Yeah, you know, they're a new thing. You get like the so they've got like 3.
Instead of a
they have
V8,
4 right
it's
now.
a P8.
6, yeah. I did learn that there are W cylinders the other day. Well, not the other. I've known that for a while. They're not common, but there are W cylinders. That's got pulled from in.
Yeah, his Valkyrie was denied, but Lam's just gonna die! Oh no! Lam's respite comes out a little bit late, and Haichao managed to make his way into it. MilkyWay dies to the frost bomb! Oh god, it's a disaster! And Haichao, the winner of it all with a double kill.
Why are they taking that fight when their Kai'Sa is in base? Deokdam was trying to run down the mid lane, trying to get towards that play, but once again, they just don't get themselves in the position at the right time. And LGD, they're quite a squishy composition. They can't tank this for long, but they can definitely head towards it. Life is heading back out towards the map, but I think this might just be gone. There's no slight for FPX.
Pretty quick.
Baron gone.
They might have to flash over the back wall. I don't know. Deokdam potentially a chance to pop off here. 2K on the Baron. Smite should come down here, but the health bars are low for LGD. That's Baron. JinJiao just dips immediately. Kepler over the wall, but Deokdam chases for more. 2 kills for him, 1 for Care, but a Baron for LGD.
Finally, FPX realize, hang on, why don't we get this Kai'Sa involved in the game? The spectator's been hovering over them the entire time. We've been sat there saying, hey, you know, this Kai'Sa's probably really strong if you get him into a fight, right? Gets away with a lot of gold from that play, and LGD is sat now suddenly going to have only two Baron buffs to play with. Which replay we're going back towards? We're going back towards this top lane. Okay, guys. This one's a little earlier. Get to see Haichao's point of view as he gets flashed on, not flashed on, just straight up comboed by the Alistar. He has so much damage in this one. He has his Muramana, and because of the turnaround down from Meteor getting right onto MilkyWay and allows Haichao to live a little longer because he can go run into effectively the shared ultimate at that point. This is where FPX look a lot better though, because they do have the Kai'Sa here. Doesn't use that ultimate to get into the play. Instead runs around the back of the pit and then uses the ultimate to continue to have that DPS. Typically that is how Kai'Sas look their best. You don't start with the ult, you follow up with that ult. And that's exactly what happens there. Now he comes back almost at those 3 items.
I've never seen Static Shiv get much team fight value before, but I feel like Deokdam really getting some big Shiv value there with everyone grouped up in the pit. Fantastic little fight from him. And FPX show some life for once. Not for once, for the first time pretty much in this game. Yeah, well, that's true. That's true. But yeah, FPX kind of back in this game a little bit, fighting hard. I feel like if LGD just pulled the trigger on the Baron a little bit sooner, that was probably a Baron and they'd maybe get away with it. Hesitated a bit, and FPX with a good punish. But now Drake going to be coming up in a minute's time. LGD have to. Does feel like FPX have control for now.
Yeah, they do for now, and they have themselves some big item power points coming through. Talked about Deokdam. Most gold in the game, very, very powerful. You also have 4 marks being claimed by MilkyWay somewhere over the last fight or 2. Managed to pick them up, so he's going to have himself that range increase. Also has himself the Kraken Collector bonus. So LGD, despite the fact that they have led throughout the entirety of this game, the gold lead is not that out of proportion, and there are still item breakpoints on the other side. 3 items now into Deokdam. He is so ready to start poking down and returning fire a little bit of his own with that W. Does he have that shot blast, but at least it is competitive now between him and the skill shots coming out from LGD. Dragon spawning in 20 seconds. FPX, if they can find a split target for Deokdam to get an easy first kill, or for ZDZ to get involved as well, that changes an awful lot. LGD, they want to make sure that their poke is hitting.
Just want to mention as well, MilkyWay, I'm not sure quite when, did manage to find his 4th stack, so the Kindred did more of a champion in these team fights. Kepler actually dashes forwards to find some damage. JinJiao blocks the culling from Care, and a little shock blast on the back of it as well. Look at the health bars from FPX as they move into the mid lane. Honeyfruit there for Kepler as well to remove the poke that's been returned. Kepler right at the front of the fight here, potentially needs to back away, but finds one. Never mind, stay exactly where you are, Kepler. On off. Deokdam into the back line, but Burdol flashes away from him. Deokdam low on HP, but finds one anyway. ZDZ, one of the last members remaining, and Deokdam on the wrong side of the map. Meteor searches for more. Haichao gets a chunk from Deokdam, who's desperately trying to recall.
Another W.
Meteor knows, surely. Oh, the spear just meters away as Deokdam finally found the solo for Meteor and LGD, kings of the chaos.
LGD managed to walk away with that fight. They walk away with everything they want from that, and they do just about stop Deokdam from taking over. I thought that maybe the Kai'Sa could be once again the team fight determining factor. If he has a flash, I think he gets himself maybe 1 or 2 more kills, but FPX, they try to get themselves to be engaged. Life pops his ult early, kind of have to against this kind of comp, but even with the ult, immediately made into mincemeat. Deokdam, look at how he plays it through. He's trying to again get that split fight while the MilkyWay ultimate is trying to get himself onto the board too, but they just can't deal with all of the range. Deokdam can close the gap once, but not after that point. Even with successive Ws, can't bring out the same amount of value that Burdol did right there. A much better KDA than the first game, much better team fights from Burdol as well. 3-1-4, really impactful fight in the chase.
I feel like FPX need a rel or something here just to try and pull LGD together a little bit, because the way that they are spreading out in these fights makes it so difficult to deal with. It was a negative Baron power play at the end of things, but they are still ultimately about 6,000 gold up, so I don't think they're going to be too worried about trading fairly even across the course of Baron, because they got so many towers now. Just the tier 2s remaining in mid and top lane, and also sole point for LGD. It really has been a fantastic series for the team, and again, I want to remind people that this is their 4th series. They're 0-3 in that upper group. They hadn't won a game before this series, but maybe it is a matter of strength of schedule. Maybe this is a team that could still qualify for playoffs without having to go through those grueling best-of-5s.
Yeah, you know, FPX, they are a team that people have a lot of expectations of after spring. They have found themselves a bit of a roadblock here in LGD. LGD, they were the sore thumb in the Ascension group. People are asking, did they deserve to be here? Flash in onto Burdol, that's a kill.
Huge pick here for FPX, massive. Unfortunately, there's nothing up right now, but in 20 seconds, Baron will come up onto the map. Burdol has TP, but he'll be dead for another 20 seconds when that Baron spawns. Perhaps a chance for FPX.
Yeah, that's still a flash out of ZDZ. That's a powerful tool to be using. The fact that you get that kill onto Burdol, it's nice. Is that going to net yourself a game-changing play, though? The kill onto Burdol definitely helps. We talked how much value he had in that team fight. He's not here for the poke now as well. See if FPX looking for a turn. ZDZ doesn't have that flash now.
Big jump onto Deokdam. Remember, Deokdam, no ult. That is such a big tool for FPX. I think FPX realized they don't really want to fight without it. JinJiao forwards, that ward survives and will be cleared at the end of the fight. A pink ward, LGD, I don't think... Oh, they're going to go for it. They're going to pull the trigger. Oh, God.
He can teleport in. Burdol can come back in, and now suddenly you use your Renekton flash. Deokdam's not there. FPX, they have been completely round about the map by LGD, who are looking for a turn. They don't manage to land it. You know, FPX, they commit the Renekton flash. They try and get themselves a game-changing play. Can't quite manage it.
They just start Baron again. Deokdam trying to move on in. Tag onto Haichao, tag onto Burdol. LGD, this is not what you want to do right now. They back away, they realize this isn't it. They force the TP out from ZDZ though. And again, really tense around the Baron. This might be my favorite series of the split so far. I mean, TES BLG was pretty damn good, I'm not going to lie, but this has been a kind of a bang.
It has, and you know, considering that these two teams are ones which we've had kind of ambiguous expectations of, you know, have FPX really fallen off that much from spring? Are they going to turn up again to the level which we know they can? What's happening with LGD, their strength of schedule? I feel like they've performed better than I thought they would do today, and they've been closer matched than I thought they would be today as well. It has been really back and forth, bloody team fights, which of course we both love in terms of the entertainment value. And now coming through into the late game here, we're starting to crest into that point where we've got Soul on the table, Baron on the table. We are very much into the late game now. It feels like it's going to be on that execution. Can Deokdam find himself enough W's on target? Can they find themselves a split fight? Deokdam's trying to shadow that Renekton. He's been trying to combo up with ZDZ this entire game. It's been really hard to lock down onto those targets though. LGD playing a lot of respect to the value that Kai'Sa can have off that CC.
Meteor now tries to move into the jungle. This is the issue with the LGD comp, is if you don't have vision control, it's quite hard to move forward unless one of those skill shots lands and shows you that someone's there, and suddenly out of the shadows, FPX appear. I think LGD was suspicious that the whole team might be in that rush, and so don't face check. Now, the battle for mid-prio continues. Both teams will just eradicate the wave. Mid-prio does not exist.
Yeah. You have, you've heard for the battle for Middle Earth, now get ready for the battle for Mid-Prio. It's a little bit different, we don't exactly have ourselves any orcs right now, but we have a lot of firepower and so many skill shots from LGD. Even if one misses, there's a dozen other which is going to follow it. If they can land enough poke, that might be it. MilkyWay's going!
MilkyWay goes in and line finds a knock-up to start it off. JinJiao alone as LGD forced to retreat to start it off with the health bars alone. And Deokdam down to the back line looking for Meteor. He survives, and instead Deokdam falls. Burdol trying to carry on the bottom side of the fight as LGD stayers at 3. Jumping forwards, the Lamb's respite will keep Kepler alive. The spears coming in, shot blast from the side, potentially from Burdol as it goes wide. Haichao looking for rockets too, but they're on cooldown. Life sidestep and everything. 3 men alive each.
There are just so many particles on our screen at every given moment. These skill shots tearing across the battlefield. And it's LGD that vaguely come out with a win, question mark. I think definitely up to this point, they are going to be able to stick around in the bottom river. Dragon has spawned. FPX, they're trying to get their jungler healed up off of these camps, but can they contest? MilkyWay can hop over the back of the pit. He can look for the steal. No Lamb's respite, though.
This is Soul, and it's Soul for LGD as Burdol dives into the backline, though, tries to trade it. That's 2. How did they find 2? 3 there as Haichao carries the fight. Life alone in the back of the pit, and he will fall for another in favor of LGD.
Incredible burst coming out of Burdol with multi-man to the skies, the hammer form Q, and Haichao following up with boss bombs and Gatling guns galore. LGD have been made to fight for it, but FPX are coming out second best in the grand majority of these team fights. They're almost finding the split fights, so MilkyWay and Deokdam to dance their way through to team fight victories, but it hasn't quite been enough. I think particularly in this game, Burdol and Haichao have absolutely murdered their way through the grand majority of these team fights. With the Ocean Soul, they're going to look to take the Baron.
ZDZ tries to make some kind of contest happen, but there's nothing he can do on that one. Now Deokdam, I mean, Killer Instinct is up. If you can find a Void Seeker, maybe there's an angle for an exit kill. What?
What? He steals the Baron!
The Void Seeker finds the Void Beast. Deokdam keeps FPX in it.
Well, he finds himself the exit kill. It's just not onto a champion, it's onto the Baron. And just as we are saying, FPX have been second best. Deokdam puts himself into first place on that podium. He is in the spotlight now. He is the main character, and he puts FPX back on the map.
My goodness, Deokdam is not going to let this one go without a fight, is he? We're going to take another look at this fight. It looked good to start for FPX with a 3-man pulverize.
Yeah, MilkyWay gets himself into a great position to start closing that gap, hop over the wall. Deokdam gets a split fight too. But just look how much damage Burdol does. Assassinates one, takes down ZDZ at the end of this. Haichao doing similar things in the groups that fight on the other side. There is just so much damage on the side of LGD. Even if Kepler is the one to go down, I don't think Kepler's had the best team fights. The rest of the team have done. This is a snipe from the gods.
Oh my lord.
W to steal that Baron. That keeps things maybe in contention, but they're still losing their base.
He had a Pixel's whip to hit it, and he hit it, but it will not save the base by the looks of things. Mid lane in hip goes down, bot lane in trouble, and ZDZ falls. This is a window wide open for LGD to find their first series win here in the Ascend group. People said they didn't belong, and they are here to prove everybody wrong. Need to wait for another minion wave to finish the job. The CDC not up for another 35 seconds.
And with the Bloodthirsters here on LGD as well, the poke is meaning less. With that Nidalee, the poke is meaning less. It's going to be a siege. Can FPX hold on to their walls?
Good spear. I mean, Meteor has hit so many spears across the course of this game. Like, we talked about how little setup there is for this Nidalee, but with a full poke composition like this, there's so much to dodge, there's so many projectiles. Yet inevitably, Nidalee is going to find a few, and Meteor, every time they hit, it's half a health bar.
It's, most of the time when we see Nidalee, it has been part of a setup combination throughout League history. It has been about the Renekton Nidalees and the Nautilus Nidalees, which can kind of set up for these big spears across the map. It makes your job that much easier. There have been teams in the past, though, which have just said, look, the spears are easier to hit if everyone's already dodging other stuff. If you go towards the Jace and the Ezreal and the Corki Rockets and then also the Nidalee as well, you have to dodge so much stuff that one of these things is going to hit. It doesn't always even matter if it is the Nidalee spear.
Do you know,
at that point,
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. I was just going to say, it reminds me of top esports, like 4 years ago. You know, the Karsa iteration of the team, they loved playing these kinds of comps with a Jace top, with a Nidalee in the jungle. Jackie loves Ezreal. I don't know if Corki mid was necessarily a thing at the time. I can't really remember, but it was all about these kinds of compositions.
Oh, I'm sure there was an Azir Corki meta
was
at
a big thing back at the time. This was like Ezreal Yuumi kind of era as well. Like these full poke compositions, they were one of the only teams in the league that were willing to do them. Kind of feels good to see a similar comp come back again.
Yeah, I mean, we haven't seen this that much even worldwide. JinJiao may be looking for a hook. He has that flash. Just going to hold my breath. Actually, could be the game-ending fight. The hook goes wide. ZDZ has that flash back, and he's found Burdol on the side. He doesn't know he's here. He's not going to go onto him just yet. He's going to flank potentially.
Mega
he's
flank coming through. Live finds the engage as Haichao gets away. Deokdam dives onto the backline, looking for the enemy mid laner. He has to turn golden. ZDZ looks to finish Haichao. The health bar low, and he will be taken down. In the meantime, Care has fallen as Meteor found an assassination, but FPX are winning the fight right here. Burdol has to carry. He has to be the one to take the mantle. But with JinJiao falling, and Meteor can't get into the fight, Burdol surely will die too. FPX are doing it against all odds. FPX find it off of ZDZ's miracle flank.
ZDZ gets himself into the game. It does cost him his flash, his ult, and his life, but he'll take that for the base standing for the game. Continuing to go on. LGD, even with the Ocean Soul, cannot close the game out at this time of asking. It is getting to the point where it is all about these intricate angles. It's about the smoke and mirrors, and ZDZ somehow finds himself on that fog of war. Burdol doesn't spot him out there. I think ZDZ makes the right choice to not go on to Burdol. Charges up his rage through his ultimate. Life goes in, catches Haichao as he Valkyries. There's no way he can get out of this, so one of the damage sources is immediately obliterated from LGD. Kepler as well. He's been zeroed out in so many of these fights. We talked about, you know, he's kind of playing for a spot against Shaoye in this series. These team fights have not been a great look in for him. Whereas on the other side, Deokdam is really starting to take over once the opening has been presented. Picture in picture, we might be seeing a kill.
Oh, Meteor's dead! Oh my god, Meteor's dead as Elder Dragon spawns! LGD, two mistakes, two back-to-back mistakes, and suddenly this game looks like it's FPX's with Elder Dragon. Surely they can turn that into a Baron as well.
Oh, you might have to see what will happen around these inhibs. That's going to be a big problem here for LGD. Double teleports from Haichao and Burdol. If they leave themselves out of position to go towards that Baron, there is every chance that we'll be seeing a teleport onto him, wave that's pushed in into the Nexus as well. So LGD, they lose their jungler, they lose that Elder, and now this is a really dangerous point. Full build Deokdam has Banshees and Zhonya's, double the defensive items. He feels he has the damage. What happens here? How did Meteor get caught out? He's just looking for a play into the enemy jungle, gets hit by the culling. MilkyWay jumps over the wall. He just pushed it way too fast.
Just disrespected the enemy team. You can't be doing that for chickens at this point in the game. He's almost at full build. As Burdol realizes he's in trouble, just TPs to the bottom lane, does not want to be there anymore. The tower won't quite go down as FPX will claim their Baron. And I've got to say, FPX's team fighting in this late game has been fantastic. Obviously, Deokdam, really, really great in the play around the inhib, right, to dive in alongside ZDZ. The flank from ZDZ was great, but also the follow-up there, like MilkyWay dives in, Life dives in, everybody jumps on board to make sure that Deokdam can carry these fights. MilkyWay now on 7 stacks on the Kindred, so that's another power spike for him. 20 and 20 on the scoreboard. We asked for a repeat of game 1. We've absolutely got it today.
And you know what? When it comes to these late game scenarios, need I remind people of Spring? This was FPX's comfort zone. They backdoored top esports. They took huge late game wins against many top teams in the LPL on their journey to us considering to be a top team. Every time those W's land, you have to be so afraid. A couple of dodges out on that one.
The Ocean Soul is so valuable.
The Ocean Soul, the Nidalee getting those heals is so valuable to stop the insta-kill.
Oh, Meteor is so low! Haichao saves him as Onya's comes on through, and Meteor will walk away with his life. Barely, but he is alive. 20 seconds on Elder. The wave now arriving. Kepler's going to ult him, but with Baron in play as well, this should be enough to break open the mid lane inhibitor. 10 seconds on Elder. FPX can't just keep brute forcing, at least with Elder. Maybe they can just brute force manually. In fact, the top lane tower's not there anymore, so that'll be 2 inhibs. FPX have gone from a deficit of 2 inhibs to an advantage of 2 inhibs.
Now, the Elder's fallen off. I don't think they're going to be able to use the rest of the Baron. The fact is that FPX won the last couple of team fights by getting onto the carries in the backline. It's very hard to do that when you push LGD so far into their own side of the map. You can see that, you know, LGD, they get to play around huge amounts of damage if they can keep FPX at range. It is getting harder and harder to do so because FPX, and particularly Deokdam on this full build, can isolate someone if you do get that W on target. Haichao has teleport, Burdol doesn't. There's still every chance that LGD could teleport into the base, take an inhib, and force some problems for FPX to worry about those smoke and mirrors. So FPX still needs to be very, very careful. No Elder this time to auto win you those fights.
We have a moment of quiet, a moment of LGD just catching their breath, trying to find a way to get back in this game. Remember, this is a position that will struggle when you've lost control, and it does feel like they have lost control of the map. Kepler's got to be careful. Remember, this is a player that historically has had issues getting caught out at the wrong time. This would definitely be the wrong time. Caught by a Void Seeker, but Deokdam won't go for that one just now.
Deokdam has a Zephyr. That's a thing. Zephyr is a thing that built out of his. We rarely get to see these things, but he's so strong. Kepler has the Bloodthirst, wants to wave play. Oh, that's a double teleport! Kepler's
gone a little bit too deep on this one. Flashes over the wall. Deokdam gets onto the backside. Haichao manages to survive. ZDZ goes over the wall, but Deokdam might gone too deep himself. Kea now has to carry his ZDZs in the middle of everything. Deokdam gets away with his life. Meteor tries to carry so many Zonyas as Burdol hunts for Deokdam, but the shock blast is wide. Burdol doesn't have the damage! And FPX come out on top. The Acadian rain is a hailstorm on the heads of LGD. We're going to 3.
Off of a W snipe, Baron Steel, FPX claw their way back into the series against all odds. FunPlus Phoenix take it back to 1-1.
Just a 1-kill advantage for FPX as the game will end. MilkyWay, the one to finish it by his lonesome. As you can see, Life and Meteor chasing around the other side of the map. MilkyWay will finish the job, and FPX keep this series alive.
What a great series. I could definitely forgive some people for thinking that, oh, you know what, this won't be as good as the other Ascension series. There's two teams that are struggling up here. They are fighting tooth and nail here. It has been about the team fight execution. It's been about the inspiration when it matters. A Kai'Sa W Baron Steel, a couple of flanks to FPX to keep them in the game, somehow bring this to 1-1. LGD left starstruck. We were ready to call this series in regards to like the early games and then getting that advantage later on. We were talking about how LGD, maybe it's their strength of schedule which has ended up making them maybe look like they're a worse team in this group. FPX, got to start talking about them now, because once they hit that late game, their inspiration really starts to show.
I'm just saying, FPX versus NIP. NIP looked good in game number 1. They win game number 2 up until the late game. Then FPX suddenly managed to make a miracle win happen and then win game 3. Are we seeing the same thing again? FPX lose game number 1, miracle survival in game number 2. We're going to game number 3. We'll find out if history will repeat itself right after the break.